Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Financial Madness. My name is Kozan and I'm here to help you be better with your money. Cool, so in this episode we're going to be talking about learning about something called the Latte Factor and how we can use this concept to help us save a little bit extra cash. So one of the many familiar comments I always hear from either friends, family members, or even just people online is that when it comes to saving money, people believe that they don't earn enough money to actually put some cash aside for the future. So if you're someone that says one of these comments, or if you're someone that already saves money but they think they could do a bit better, this is where the Latte Factor comes in. The Latte Factor was one of the concepts that I came across in one of the very first books that I started to read when I started out my personal finance journey. And this is The Automatic Millionaire, written by financial author David Bach. It's a really good book for beginners and I really highly recommend. I'll put a link in the description below for anyone that's interested. One of the takeaways that you get from The Automatic Millionaire is that there's a huge misconception out there. And this misconception is that wealth is generally determined by a person's income. Now, I'm not denying, typically a person that earns a lot of money tends to have a lot of wealth. But we forget that anyone on a high income can also have high debt. And any debt a person has works to diminish any wealth that they've built as well. So what does this tell us? It tells us that wealth isn't actually dependent on a person's income, but rather it's an outcome of a person's spending habits. The Latte Factor was dubbed so because your average Joe or Joanne would typically spend a couple of pounds here and there just to buy themselves a cup of coffee when they go to work Monday to Friday. The average cup of coffee here in the UK is £2.50. And £2.50 doesn't seem so much in the moment. However, if you decided not to use that money to buy a cup of coffee, but rather put it into a savings account or an investment account, that money turns into hundreds and thousands of pounds over time. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, let me demonstrate it to you with the help of our friend compound interest. If you missed my episode on what compound interest is, here's a link for it below or above somewhere. Running with the £2.50 example, let's see how much money we would save every month if we decided not to buy a cup of coffee when we were at work. So let's get a trusty calculator. So over the course of a working week, we would save £2.50 times 5. That would be £12.50 a week we would save on coffee. Times it by 4 to get a month, that is £50. So that's £50 a month we would save if we decided not to put our money towards a cup of hot Joe. I'm using the compound interest calculator on the calculator site, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to have a play with it yourself. So switching this to pounds, so let's start off. We have an initial balance in our account of 0, so we're starting afresh, and we are returning a rate of interest at 9%. I can already hear you shouting at me. There's absolutely no way a person can save 8% interest on a savings account in today's current climate in the UK. And you'd be right. Most savings accounts currently in the UK will only give you a return that will probably equate to a couple of pennies or even maybe a few pounds. So we really want to be investing our money in some kind of fund or some sort of stocks and shares. According to Investopedia, since its inception in 1926, the S&P 500 has had an average rate of return of somewhere between 8 to 11%. For those that don't know what the S&P 500 is, it's basically a measurement or an index of how well the stock market is currently doing. It's made up of 500 of the US's largest companies. So I'll be taking an average of 9% for this example, which is slightly on the reserve scale on what the average rate of return the S&P 500 has done. Calculation period, I'm going to do 10 years. And this is going to be compounded monthly. And with our latte money, we'll be putting in £50 a month in deposits. Cool, and it breaks it down quite nicely for you below, which is really nice. So if we decided never to buy coffee again, or maybe limit the amount of coffee we buy per week, and we put that money into an investment fund, after 10 years, that money becomes £9,554.30, of which almost £4,000 is the interest earned. If we scroll down, you can see how this breaks down. So in year 1, after saving £50 for 12 months, that equals £600, we earn £29 of interest. In our second year, we put another £600, again, putting £50 a month for another year. But this time we earn £85.46. Remember, this is compound interest. So it's taking into account how much money we've put in plus any interest we've earned at this point in time. So this brings our balance in year 2, £1,314.33. Again, similar thing in year 3, we put £600 a year, but this time again, we earn £147.15 in interest, and bringing our total for the year to £2,061.48. So just using this example, our £2.50 a day has turned into almost £10,000 in the space of 10 years. But let's take this further. Let's see how much this money would become if we did the same thing for 40 years, which would probably take us to around about retirement age. So again, I'll go up to here and I'll change this to 40, hit calculate. So after 40 years, our £2.50 a day turns into just over £212,000, of which £188,000 is just made up by interest alone. So let me scroll down to the balance breakdown here below, because I think this really hammers it home. So the green bit shows how much we're depositing, and that's not changing. That's still £600 a year from just saving £2.50 a day on coffee. But look at the orange bar, which represents the 9% return on our investment. It grows exponentially over the course of several years. And this really hammers home another important point as well. Time is one of your best friends when it comes to building wealth. The earlier you start, the more money you'll have for the future. I started investing about 2 years ago when I was 25 years old, but I really wish I knew this a lot earlier so I could have started building my wealth a lot quicker and building it a lot faster too. If you feel that you've also started quite late, maybe you're in your 30s, 40s, or even your 60s, don't let that fact stop you from investing your money into a high returning account. I've shown you how much money you can earn in just a simple, in a couple of years by just £2.50 alone. If you can somehow increase that money to a lot more money, imagine how much growth you will see as well. Now obviously the latte factor doesn't have to be a cup of coffee. For me, I'm not a big coffee drinker. I mean, I drink it, but to me, buying a coffee from a pret-a-manger or from the vending machine doesn't really make much difference to me, so I'll go for the vending machine option. So I started looking for my own latte factor. If it wasn't going to be coffee, it had to be something else. And it turned out to be my work lunches. I figured out that I could save £6 a day if I decided to make lunch at home and bring it into work than buying it in the canteen or one of the local shops nearby. And £6 is a lot more than the £2.50 example I just gave on the coffee. £6 a day on lunch came up to £130 per month. Let me just show you what that would look like in 40 years if I had decided to put £130 in an investment fund somewhere rather than £50. I'd have over £500,000 in my bank account if I just simply made lunch at home. So that's it for this week's episode. And you know what? I would really love to hear what your latte factor was. Maybe it was different to a cup of coffee as well. It's always interesting to see what people could come up with when it comes to saving a little bit of money here and there. So let me know in the comment section below. And as always, if you thought this video was helpful, I would really appreciate if you gave this video a thumbs up. And if you want to keep up to date with my future videos, hit that subscribe button. See ya.